So my name is Charlene White and welcome to this BAFTA session that we're doing looking at how to produce daytime TV. A quick introduction of me. I present ITV News and have recently joined the daytime slate at ITV as one of the hosts of Loose Women. And so many of us are at home, working from home at the moment. It's fair to say that daytime is doing particularly well at the moment, have been doing for the last year or so. So it'll be a really lovely session just to talk you through how it all works. Some of the biggest programs in daytime, they are represented amongst our panel today. And we do want to make sure that you guys ask as many questions as possible, really. So what we're going to do is I'll chat to our fabulous panel for about 45 minutes or so. And then the final 10-15 minutes of the session is basically over to you. But keep typing in those questions as we go along, and I'll collate them all at the end, and I'll do sort of a quick fire session to each one of the panelists and try and get through as many of your questions as possible. But, you know, we really, really are pleased that you've all managed to join us this evening on this cold, wet January evening, and I'm sure we'd all rather be in a pub on a January night, but you're with us and we're all together. We're going to try and make this a great session for you. So I'd love to introduce who we have on this panel. We have Jay Blades. You will know him as soon as you see him. He is the nation's no-nonsense furniture upcycler and presenter of the Repair Shop on BBC One. Jay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We've got Michelle Heeley, who's senior executive producer of Freeform Productions, who looks after Channel 4's A Place in the Sun. Some sunny relief, I'm sure, for everybody whilst they're working from home. Thank you for joining us, Michelle. We've got Julian, who's senior producer at ITV's Daytimes This Morning, so one of my colleagues. He's also the co-chair of ITV Pride, which is ITV's LGBT plus colleague network. And finally, Michael Kelpie, who's managing director of Potato, which is a production label within ITV Studios, as I'm sure many of you already know. He is also exec producer and creator of The Chase. So thank you for joining us, Michael.
You're very welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Michael.
Now, I think this is probably, I kind of want to get an overview, I think, from the very start, just because I feel as though, irrespective of lockdown and so many of us working from home, I just feel like daytime is having just a boom at the moment. What do you reckon, Ollie?
I mean, the numbers are up. Some days they're up 100%, which is, I think, quite incredible. I mean, in large part down to COVID, there's a lot more people at home. I think last Wednesday was the highest rating that we've had in 10 years in both share and volume. So, you know, the viewers are coming to us. There's more people than ever tuning into us and kind of engaging with us. And do you know, I think the toughest thing that we have at the moment is how to keep those viewers and how to retain them, even when the world maybe goes back to normal soon. So it's just, we're kind of focusing on that at the moment. But yeah, you're right. It is a booming time for daytime. And I think in the last couple of months and, you know, within the last year, we've really understood what public service broadcasting is as well. And that's kind of really played into, I think, why you know, our part of the schedule is doing quite well at the moment.
And for a show like yours, Michelle, I guess it is that light relief. And I joked about it at the start, but when so many of us, especially at this time of year, are stuck at home, A Place in the Sun is just, I don't know, like so many other daytime shows, but most importantly with you, it is that sunshine. It's feeling as though, gosh, at some point we will be able to go on holiday again.
I know, totally. I mean, I feel very privileged that I get to view so many shows. It is just that. And the same with you. We had our last run, we had the highest rating figures we've had for 12 years. So it's really amazing. And people are tuning in. And it's cold outside. It's wet. It's horrible. We're locked in our houses. We can't go on holiday. And so it's a virtual holiday, isn't it? And that really is helping. And it's an escapist and it feels good and it's nice and it's real. So I think, yeah, it's exactly the same as what Ollie said. It's really bringing in the audiences. And we've found a whole load new audiences as well. We've noticed our social media, people tweeted us occasionally, but our viewers weren't the type to tweet. And now, whenever we're on air, we get loads more tweets, loads more Facebook, Instagram. So it's really taken off, which shows to us we've got a new audience coming into us, the younger audience, a more broad audience. So again, it's how to keep those as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is it a situation like Ollie was saying, is that when this is over, you don't want to lose those people, do you?
No. I think what we're trying to do is think about our casting, making sure that our casting, the diversity in our casting is more important than ever. And traditionally, a lot of the people on a placement, some maybe slightly older, and now we're making sure we bring in the younger audience, we bring in the younger people as well, and just promoting our social media. We're not so good at that as a company, but pushing our presenters to do loads more stuff on social media as well.
Yeah. And Michael, have you guys noticed that there's a change in demographic in terms of, you know, other people gravitating towards the chase now?
I think what we've noticed is, I mean, it's a significant increase in volume more than anything else. Our demos were traditionally and historically always quite broad, because, you know, it's a quiz show which appeals to almost everybody. It's an entertainment show, and, you know, we have a bit of a chuckle and a bit of a laugh. But also going out at 5 p.m., you know, you do catch, you know, you've got your people who are there at home during the day, that traditional audience that we used to always talk about in daytime. But we've also got, you know, kids and teenagers who are back from school, and quite a lot, and depending on what part of the country people are in, you've got people who are back from work. You know, so we've always had a fairly broad spread in viewers of the show and a good volume. But what we've definitely seen in the last 10 months is that volume increasing. Mm-hmm. You know, is you know, probably the only upside, you'd say, to lockdown. And I think how people are using and interacting and coming to daytime television at the moment is that as we are more isolated than we've ever been, by being in lockdown, in daytime, what daytime does, especially in the mornings, you know, ITV does it very, very well from 6:30 all the way through till lunchtime. It talks to the viewer, you know, there's a conversation there, and, you know, so that you can make that connection. And I think then throughout the afternoon, what we see across all the channels is we entertain them. It's comfortable. You can drop in, drop out. So we've seen that just there are more people available to watch television. And I sincerely hope that when we return to normal and everybody's safe again, that people decide that they just really don't want to go back to the office. They want to stay at home.
That is the hope. Jay, I know that you're pretty prolific on social media. Do you notice the sort of things that Michelle mentions, where she says that actually more viewers are tweeting into A Place in the Sun? Have you found that there's a whole new audience now engaging with you in a way that wasn't happening before?
I think fortunate for us is that we've got kind of an international angle as well. So we're on Netflix and stuff like that. So I noticed that you get different spikes at different times of the day. But let's say, for instance, the English viewers, we've always had a kind of quite a big following with regards to social media. With all of the experts have all got their own Twitter and Instagram handles, and they've just always been posting. So I think what came apparent was when Facebook, when the Repair Shop started its own Facebook page, and that's the numbers just grew instantly. It just went straight through the roof. But the engagement is just phenomenal, because people will watch a show and they will comment as the show is going out. And then you see a dialogue between different people as into what they liked, what they didn't like, and so on and so forth. It's really, I think social media and also COVID has given the kind of consumer or the viewer a chance to just engage with a show that they love instantly and get a response straight away, whether it's from the audience that is there or from the people that they tag in, because they often tag me a lot of the time, and it's quite I do my best to get back to everybody.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a really thing to do, Jay. I mean, have you sort of noticed things like the way in which people engage with you, or how much a show may mean to someone? Do you feel like that has changed in the last 10 months? Because it's almost like it means even more than ever before, because so many of the stories in the Repair Shop are linked to family, and where so many of us can't see family. Have you noticed that the way that people take on your stories has changed?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed, because we've kept the same kind of narrative. I think the thing for me is daytime TV has always been this trusted kind of element of like TV, where basically you've got the experts and you've got people that are just giving you the knowledge as into what they know. And it's someone that you can sit down with, you put the TV on and you feel comfortable. You feel comfortable with either a game show host or a presenter. And along those lines, what we've had, when we first started, I think we started out on BBC Two, and it used to be where you would have the grandparents picking the children up from school, then coming home, putting the tea on or whatever, and then sitting down and the Repair Shop will be on. And basically, you got the children liking the show, and then you got the grandparents sitting down. There was that real family bonding. And I think daytime gives you that warm kind of community feel. And that's the beauty of being in daytime, I'd say.
And I'd say, Ollie, with Phil and Holly, that was never more apparent than during the start of the first wave when lockdown was concerned, when all of us were at home and pretty scared because we didn't know where this was going. We didn't understand what was happening. And there was a certain level of feeling, if Phil and Holly are on my screen, that I feel like everything may well be okay. Life will be okay if those two are there. As a team, did you feel that? And was there a conscious decision to sort of be that friend that people needed at that point?
100%. I think, do you know what? I think we look now, and we've all got so used to queuing up for Tesco's and putting on your face mask and things like that. I think we forget how scary March was. If you take yourself back in your mind and just remember what that was like, the news was all doom and gloom all of the time. And things were just getting worse and worse and worse. And, you know, there was adverts on the TV about how to queue up in the supermarket. It was a really scary time. And actually, I think, so what This Morning it became was, like you said, that constant. Phil and Holly were there throughout it all. And, you know, I think we worked really hard as a team. And our senior management really, really lobbied and said, no, we've got to stay on air. We've got to stay on air. And we managed to get our team designated as key workers by the government and said to the Cabinet Office, actually, it's really important that our programme stays on because we do have that interaction and we do talk to our viewers and they talk back to us. And we're a real mix of information, reporting, journalism, but with that smile and that positivity, which I think is what we try and really put through as a programme. And I think for quite a while that the show became, still is now, it's the nation's comfort blanket. You know, it's very much like, that's what we think of it when we make it. It's how do we report some of this quite troubling news and the facts, but how do we do it with a positive spin? And how do we not just report that everything's, you know, a bit scary outside without telling you how to cope with it? And that's what I think we've, as a team, you know, we were reflecting our own lives as well as, and how we were all feeling and, you know, talking to our own families. And then you're going, right, well, this is what we need to put on TV, really.
And Michelle, is there an element of comfort with A Place in the Sun as well, because it was a constant that was, you know, it's been there for years. I think it's quite difficult for me to remember a time where it wasn't on TV because it's been there for years. And to have that situation where our favorite programs, especially in daytime, we didn't want them to go anywhere because we needed that constant in our lives as consumers.
Well, funny you say it, we've been celebrated our 21 years this year, last year. 21 years. Very good. But it is always on as well. And if it's not a brand new episode, it's a repeat. So we are on every single day and we're on all the other channels as well. So I think so. And I think going back to social media, it's what people were saying, I need this, it's my daily bit of sunshine. And you could see it was becoming part of people's routine because and it was bringing that happiness into them. So yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, we aren't live, so we couldn't film during the height of the pandemic. But at least we had lots of repeats to be able to give to the audience.
And have you started filming again now?
We're suspended again, unfortunately. We're like the kind of band at the moment to all the places we want to go to. So unfortunately, we can't film at the moment, but as soon as we will be allowed to, we will be back out there. And I think I've got a really, really amazing team and they get some joy out of the fact that it's been going down so well, that we are helping an audience, that we are bringing a bit of sunshine. So the team will have to work so hard to film out on location, especially in Europe. But you know, they like the fact that it's doing so well and it brings a bit of happiness to them too.
Michelle, why do you think this show works so well?
It's apart from the sunshine, we keep it attainable and aspirational to an audience. We work really, really hard on keeping the budgets low and achievable. So anyone at home can go, do you know what? 50k for an apartment in Spain, I could actually do that if I cashed in my pension, or if I've got this bit of savings, or if we downsized in the UK and bought that. So we really, really work hard at making it attainable to the audience and casting likable people as well. Sometimes not so likable, but you know, likable people that people want to, they invest time in them, they invest an hour, they want to sit and they want it to work, and then they get really excited about it. And you know, people at home are shouting at the TV. why don't you like that one? It's perfect for you. So they really follow along with it, and they follow along that journey. And that's what we work really hard on, trying to make every show feel like a journey for the viewer.
I'm not sure no viewer yells as much at the telly as they do when they're watching The Chase, Michael. Because that's definitely a show where viewers are just constantly yelling. I've been on it twice. I didn't do very well. Did get to the final to the final parts on both times, but I had a lot of people yelling at me, going, "Why did you not get that right?" But that's part of the joy of The Chase, isn't it? It's just a fun watch.
Yeah, I mean, look, I suppose at its heart, I think one of the things we think marks The Chase out differently from the shows that went before us, not necessarily other quiz shows that are around now, is that we wanted to write questions that made people look smart, right? So, so we never write a question that makes a contestant look stupid, but we're very mindful of the fact that we want the audience to play along. And none of us are chasers. None of us. I mean, there are people out there who are as clever as the chasers, but the joy of being able to answer a question correctly that maybe the chaser got wrong is a great moment in any viewer's life. I mean, one of the greatest things for me fairly early on in The Chase was I was back home visiting my folks in Derry in Northern Ireland, and literally at 5 o'clock in the evening, my mum said, "Okay, right, we've got to stop talking. I've got to watch The Chase." And the two of them sat down, and honestly, they have no loyalty to me whatsoever. They don't watch shows just because I make them. They decide what they want to watch. But my mum and dad are your sort of very typical core daytime viewers. And they sat down and watched, and they talked the whole way through it. I mean, they're having a conversation. They are reacting, answering every question. They are disagreeing when someone chooses one offer over another offer. And if the chaser wins, then they're either pleased with the chaser because they might not have liked somebody on the team, or if the team didn't win, then they're delighted because that nice young man who was there in the team did very, very well. But it was like a constant dialogue between the two of them the whole way through, which was fun, infuriating because I like to watch telly. But it's just then it gave me an insight into how people watch The Chase. Our shows in daytime have to be interactive. We have to get the audience, as Michelle said, we have to get the audience to emotionally invest in the people that we put on screen, whether it's the talent who are hosting, as with Jay, and the fantastic of the repair shop, you really, really invest in the skill and the craft that they have and the expertise. But it's the people that we put in these shows. The audience have to either see themselves in those people, be able to associate with them and recognize themselves, and whether they do or not, they have to be able to pass judgment. Because we all as viewers pass judgment on everybody on every television show. So you want the audience to be able to find something for themselves. In our show, we want them to find someone who they think they're cleverer than. A day where they think they could have beaten the chaser, or a day where they, think that, oh well, do you know what? Actually, I got so many questions right today. I'm dead clever. So and then so behind all of that, we try and make it fun.
When you were creating this, because I'm sure there are lots of people watching, you would think, I've got a game show that would definitely work at 5 o'clock and I can definitely do it. But when you had that thought process when you were developing it, are these all these elements that you were thinking about when you were putting this show together?
For start, there's quite a few people involved in the development of this. I sort of joined it at a fairly late stage. That there was the process went on for months and months. Anyone who here who's been involved in quiz or game show development, or anybody who's watching us now, knows that it is a laborious, torturous, rigorous process that takes forever, and 90% of the time it just doesn't work. So started with a researcher who, we're talking about after the Beijing Olympics, when Usain Bolt had burst onto the scene, the fastest man in the world. Everybody in the world was excited by him, and everybody in television, broadcasters and producers all over the world were going, how can we get that excitement into our television programs? And in a dusty room in the ITV tower back in the day, a development researcher went, what if we did a quiz? A quiz race, and what if you had to race against the Usain Bolt of quiz? And that was the start of The Chase.
Wow.
I mean, it's just you know. I mean, you say it now, you go, "Oh my God, that's a really simple idea," but it was a moment of pure genius, you know. And that person has done very, very well since financially. But you know, then, but all due, you know, all earned, right place, right time, right thing to say. Then there was a fantastic development team, you know, sort of 3-4 people who then sort of started to build this. How could we do it? How could we cast it? And they came up with the final chase, which I know I'm biased and invest in it because it's my show, but I still think it is the best end game of any quiz show ever. So shy about saying that, not, but they came up with that. And then I was brought in because I produced some other quiz shows. And then it was, you know, sort of adding the bits that gave you the drama and the jeopardy and the fun and the attention. And then once we'd done all that, it wasn't until then that we attached Bradley. You know, we'd done all that. We hadn't really thought who was going to present it. But then from the moment we put Bradley into the mix, the show came to life. You know, and then our job as producers was to make it the perfect fit for him. You know, we were the tailors of television, sort of making the bespoke suit for him. And with Bradley's tone at the heart of it, and the banter between him and the chasers, and him very naturally putting himself on the side of the contestants, it all started to make sense. You know,
it does all just mold together perfectly, which is why, you know, it is one of the most successful game shows on daytime telly currently. I mean, Jay, when we talk about molding things together, you know, how much, not control, but how much influence do you have in terms of creating your role within that beautiful team that you guys have at the Repair Shop?
I think all of us had a role in creating my role, the experts, and also the production team behind. The one thing that I know now, doing the Repair Shop for a number of years, I didn't know TV was made like this, and it isn't often made in this particular way. The way that the production team just allowed us to find our own groove. It's almost as if you pour some liquid onto a surface and it just goes into where it needs to go. They gave me no direction whatsoever. I never even knew in series 1 that I was going to become the presenter. I didn't know that. They anticipated it, but they didn't tell me this. I only found this out, I think, in series 4, that's what the game plan was. And one thing that they've done that we still do to this day is I'm heavily dyslexic, so I don't read scripts. So if they send me an email, I don't get it. All they tell me is there's a lady or there's a man coming in and their name is Joanna or his name's Trevor, and that's it. And then we just hit it straight away. We do it in a one take. So I don't know anything, and I'm quite nosy, so I'll ask loads of questions. And I think what's happened is we've formed as a kind of family. And as you form as a family, you have a bit of banter, you take the mickey out of each other, and you just find a groove. And then when there's a sad moment that's reflective in one of the experts, it's like we all rally around and support each other. So you do exactly what a family does. And you can't force a family to be a family. You just have to let it happen naturally. And that's what the production company has done. And now, a few years down the line doing it, and we've got the viewers, I think our daytime figures are something like 5 million, and the peak time ones are 6 point something. It's a case where people have warmed to it, I think, because they trust that we're just normal people. They can reflect and see, hold on a minute, that's just like Uncle Tony, that's just like Auntie blah, blah, blah. And it's that kind of daytime feel that they've created within the Repair Shop.
Oh, Jay, that just sounds so beautiful, but it's what you can see when you watch the program. Exactly how you're describing it is exactly, I think, what a viewer sees. And that's part of the heart, I guess, and why people keep coming back but for more. And casting is so important, Michelle, isn't it? And you've got a cast of quite a few, and is it 7 or 8 presenters you've got at the moment?
Regular ones at the moment.
7. And that is so important, isn't it? Because, you know, each presenter gives something different that an audience will be able to hook onto.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We've got 7 completely different characters, and we've always let them be themselves. We don't try to tell them what to wear, what to say. You know, there's a script to follow, obviously, but they are their own people, their own characters, and they each bring something really, really, really different. And so Jasmine's been with us 15 years. Laura and Johnny's roughly the same amount of time. So yeah, they're with us a long time. But what's really good is that we do introduce new people too. And regularly, every couple of years, we get new faces. And I think because we've got such a strong format, the audience is very welcoming to a new face, and the new people do just as well. And we nurture new talent. We've got some people that hadn't really got much TV experience that we've gone on to do really well for us.
So is there any point the thought process of, actually, these 7 work at the moment, we're just going to stick with them for like a really long time and not rock the boat? Is it the presenters that are core for you, or it's the show that's the core and everyone else kind of dips in and out?
They go hand in hand, don't they? I mean, yes, we're very happy with the 7 that we've had for the last 4 years. But that's not to say we wouldn't look for someone else as well. I think when we finally get back to filming, our schedule's going to be quite crazy, so we might need but no, I think the show is just as important as the presenter, but the format is so strong, is what I was saying. A new presenter is able to take on that role quite well, and the audience accept them really well. And all of our new presenters that we've had recently, the big core fans have taken them to heart just as well as the ones that have been there for longer. So
see, I think Charlene and Jay, I think what Michelle has just very subtly said there is that there might be a gig for you.
Well, I don't currently have enough jobs, Michelle. So, if you're ever looking for someone, I do love the sunshine.
Sorry, Michelle.
So, just putting it out there. But I don't think there is a daytime pair who can be bettered currently, Ollie, than Phil and Holly. And I know it's a relationship that the viewers obviously love. But how do you keep a long-running daytime show continually relevant and popular, and have people still want to sit and watch it? Because as we know, as working in news, you kind of sometimes have the same stories over and over and over again, but that doesn't seem to matter for This Morning, because people will still sit and watch. How do you keep it going?
Yeah, I think so. My boss described it once as This Morning is the ship, and the ship's on its journey, and we're all the different crew that just get on board, and we're there for our time, and we make everything happen, and you want everybody to have the most lovely time on the ship, right? So that's kind of how he described it. And I think we very much think like that. So that works in terms of, here are our presenters at the moment, and they are, we are absolutely flying at the moment with that pairing. It's great. And then, putting in those items, it's okay to revisit stuff because the audience changes. The audience grows up with us. We've got a younger audience that's come to us that hasn't seen things before, and then we've got an older audiences that have, but now they're not just mothers anymore. Now they've become they're grandmothers now, and their worldview has changed. So we're able to kind of we can bring back those items, but it's just, how do you keep it fresh? How do we? And I think the most important thing is, we don't just whip out any item and go, oh, crikey, we've got 2.5 hours to fill, let's put this on. It's got to be topical, it's got to be relevant. And quite often we'll sit in meetings and, for example, my show's coming up in a couple of days. I was sitting in a meeting where we'll go, this is a great idea, but it's not the right one for tomorrow, is it? Let's get rid of it. And it will go in that meeting. And then in, the next couple of hours, we, with the help of, a really fantastic team, we will cast something else, we will get a new expert in, we will put a brief together, and we'll deliver it, and we'll put it on telly. And you'd think that it had been planned for the last 4 weeks, and actually it's been planned for sometimes 4 hours. But it's because we go, no, this is the better story, out it goes. And I think we're not afraid to look at the running order and go, no, it's not right for today, go put something else in.
But that in itself is a skill, isn't it? As a viewer may sit and watch and just think,
it's really hard.
Oh well, they just kind of do this stuff every day. It doesn't really take that much effort. But it's a real skill, and that's something I'm learning. Having not been in daytime for very long, it is a real skill to know what will work on a particular day with an audience, and what stories may not necessarily work on a Monday, but it may well work on a Thursday. There is a real skill involved in this, isn't
I think what's great, I think, so you'll probably find it, certainly at Loose Women, I know lots of the team there, it's just, I think what's great about our talent is they totally trust their producers. They trust the team that's working around them. They trust our editor to go, no, they've made the right decision, the right things are going in there, and we are their safety net. So when they go on live telly, they're in a place where all Phil and Holly's fantastic kind of their kind of duo and what you see on screen is all real, because they feel so safe on air, and we've created an environment where we can have a laugh. Things can go wrong, and it's funny because we mention it because it's going wrong. It's not like, oh, it's a disaster. It's funny, it's great, because they ultimately they feel safe that everybody, you know, we've all got them, really.
Yeah. Michael, I've got to ask, you're obviously in the daytime slate, and you watch the chase and it looks all bells and whistles and really flashy and great. You know, do you make this out of a lot of money, or are you making this on a shoestring but make it look great?
It's made on a daytime budget. The original brief that we had from ITV way back in the day was that the then controller of ITV Daytime said, I want a show that I can put at 5 o'clock that has the look and feel and values of a primetime entertainment show, but at a daytime budget. And, you know, so the challenge we faced was, you got the economies of scale that come with doing daytime shows. You know, that really is one of the main challenges we all face in daytime, is that your show has to be able to be sustainable. You've got to make, you know, at least 30 of them, you know, probably 100 of them, or in our case, over 200 a year, you know, so it has to be strong enough to do that. But so with that comes the economies of scale, which means that you do have a little bit of money that you can sprinkle across it. You can pay a little bit more for talent, or you can pay a little bit more for your hotels, or you can pay more to have more question writers, or you can go out for fancy lunches. But what we did at the start, we didn't have that. Our first series was 10 episodes. It was a pilot series. So what I wanted to do is I wanted the show to look amazing, and we just didn't have the money for the set. So I was able to go to our distribution arm, IT Studios Global Entertainment, and the guy who's run at the time, I just went, look, I think this is really good. I hope it's going to be a hit, but it's definitely not going to be a hit if it doesn't look great. I just swear away from swearing there. I was about to go into a swear word. But, yeah. So, but you know, so I got our distributor to invest money that the channel couldn't, and that we didn't have. And so we built the sets that looked amazing. You know, it was a shiny floor set. It was a show that could sit very comfortably at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. And here it was delivered in as a 5 p.m. treat. And so, and now we've seen there are quite a few shows that have come since that are sort of doing the same thing. You know, the viewers, the people who watch in daytime are the same people who watch in the evening. Yes. You know, it's not a different race of people. It's not a different, you know, they're not aliens. They don't just beam in for like 6 hours and then go to bed. You know, so there's absolutely, you know, retrospectively, you think it's not rocket science. They think that they might want some of the same values. They might want to have a laugh. They might want a show that looks like somebody spent money on it and thought about it. You know, and that's got talent that you would not normally see outside of prime time. I mean, when we hired Brad was doing Law and Order UK. He was an actor. He'd done Coronation Street, so he's like, you know, he's the nation's honorary Northerner. You know, even though he's a Hertfordshire boy and lives in Essex, you know, he's loved by the entire nation because of his years in Corrie, and he'd done his time, you know, both as a stand-up and as a performer, as a singer, and he's, God knows, he's done so many quiz shows since back in the day. I mean, that man's done more telly than everyone should have. But you know, so the challenge is there. The daytime budgets are what they are, you know. But I think, you know, with all the shows the shows that we represent here, this gang, what it shows is that actually that money can be put on screen. You know, whether it's flying around the world, or whether it's putting together a live 2.5-hour show, or whether it's putting the beautifully crafted repair shop together, and you know, which, you know, all these shows are not done on massive budgets. No, but they're made with love.
Michelle, I know that Michael sort of said, you know, it's not a different audience, you know, daytime to prime time. They both deserve the same kind of values, but there is something to say at the moment for daytime, isn't it, because of the nature of people working from home. So you will have daytime shows on in the background, for instance, if you're sat working on a computer, or your kids are homeschooling, or what have you, and you are likely to pay attention to it now in a way that perhaps you hadn't before, because you wouldn't be at home.
I think that's true. I think what Michael's saying as well, I'm so passionate about daytime TV. I think it's had for such a long time this bad reputation, poor relation, it's a bit cheap, it's a bit this, but it doesn't need to be that. And I've worked in daytime TV for a really long time, and I've always been really passionate that it still needs to have the high production values. It can still look glossy. That doesn't cost a fortune. It's about employing the right people, shoot it nicely. And so I've always been really passionate about that. And now more than ever, if we are hooking in this new audience, we need them to see that, oh, this is quite good actually, isn't it? And it's got those values. And it's, you know, we spend a lot of time when we're casting and when we're developing the shows. So we make only 120, sorry Michael, but we only
I know, but you're a bit older than us, you've got to take it easy.
We make 120 shows a year, and what I don't want to see when I'm viewing them is 120 identical shows. And it'd be very easy just to be really flippant and go, oh yeah, it's just daytime, it's fine. But that's just not good enough. So we work so hard. I've got such a strong team, and we work really hard to make sure every show's field's different. So they've got different themes, they're different dilemmas, they're a different narrative. And that is, you know, people assume we don't put as much effort into a daytime show as we would in a prime time. It's just not true. We work extra hard on the research, extra hard on putting it all together. So no, I think it's really important to, and obviously want to keep in our new loyal audience as well.
Yeah, is there a difference, do you feel, in terms of the way people view your shows since it moved to episodes being on prime time?
I think no, and just to echo what Michael said, the daytime viewer are the same viewer that's in the evening time. So the daytime viewer is a peak time viewer. It's just, I never understood why there is this kind of like, as you said, Mitchell, this kind of like second-rate cousin that's just pushed to the side because it's daytime. I think all of the daytime shows that are represented here could be represented in prime time, full stop. It's just, it goes without saying, if you look at the quality that they're producing, you look at the talent that they've got on there, and look at the warmth that they give. If you look at a daytime viewer, for instance, the majority of the time, the only contact they might have, especially during this past year, the only contact they might have is the presenters, or that warm feeling they get from the TV. So why would they not want that in the evening time? It doesn't make any sense to me. So for me, what's happened with regards to the repair shop starting off in daytime and then moving to prime time, we make both, because at the end of the day, it's the same viewer. They want that warm feeling that makes them feel good. Anybody who switches on the telly doesn't want to be scared. They don't want to be frightened. They want to make sure that they've got someone that they can relate to. And that's why you have the diversity. And then there's a lot of shows. I think of MasterChef, for instance, that started in daytime and then it's moved to prime time. And look how successful that is. You've got the bidding rooms, you've got the repair shop. So I'm sure The Chase this morning, Place in the Sun, could easily be primetime shows. So I think there is no difference really. And I'm really glad that BAFTA has acknowledged and done an award for daytime, because it just allows us to be on the same platform as everybody else.
Ollie, do you feel like the teams at ITV daytime have felt like a poor relation?
Crack, I work so hard, I've not got time to think about it. Do you know what? Genuinely, I think like it's
nice swear, nice.
Working in daytime.
Even I was impressed by that, Michael. I was like, handled well, Ollie, handled well.
It was handled very well.
I was thinking, thank God I didn't get that one.
I've never worked in a harder place. I've worked on entertainment shows, and I tell you what, when I was working things like the One Show, and then I came and did some this morning, and then I went away and did some entertainment. And you know, you're on that conveyor belt all the time. That we're turning around content. It's really difficult, and you've got to have great people around you, and you are all go all the time. And then I went to go and work for another show, and it was like, oh, so we need all of these ideas, and I'm thinking, okay, when do we need them by? 4 weeks time. Oh, right. Okay, not 4 hours. Then.
No.
I'm gonna go and get a coffee then. You know, I think that there is a different pace. There's a total different pace in daytime.
Hold on a second.
Oh, I think you might have upset Michael there, Ollie.
You're not going to dis-entertainment production teams in that way.
No, not at all. But you know, look, that is the nature of daytime that we.
Gentlemen, I don't want any beef. No,
exactly.
I mean, what I just, Charlene, if I could just quickly add. Look,
go on.
I did make them, and I'm going to let Ollie's point pass. We're just moving on. No. Look, my point about the viewers being the same human beings, the same people, is absolutely valid. But you know, if we just think of ourselves, and and our lives and what we're doing different times of the day, the way we consume television during the day is different. You know, we are doing other things, whereas in the evening we will sit down and make a point of watching television. You know, so we can give our uninterrupted attention to a television program for an hour or half an hour or 90 minutes in the evening. But during the day, we have other things we're doing, whether that's working or cooking or unpacking the shopping or unloading the dishwasher, or all those other things. So by its very nature, daytime television has to cater to a drop-in, drop-out audience. So what you see is modular structures in shows, and you see a pattern of sort of anything from 8 minutes to 20 minutes. That's what it is, you know. So the challenge we have, to bring this back to my show, the challenge we have is if someone comes in at 5:20, they have to be able to immediately feel included.
Yeah.
You know, so they have to be able to look at the show, understand immediately what's going on, sit down and give us whatever time they can give us. That's it. And while they're there, let's hope we entertain them. You know, this morning, the way that works, the modular structure of the stories and the items, you know, on Loose Women, the way you do your stories, on Good Morning Britain from the morning, the whole way through, all our shows, and Repair Shop, modular, you know, a number of stories put together, you know, set up, run, and resolved later. So, you know, we're designing our shows, and the shows when they're the most successful in daytime are ones which appeal to and fit into the lifestyles of the viewers.
Michael's totally right. In just in terms of the production of This Morning, one of the things that we do on This Morning, and you know, it's lots of the daytime show, we trail a lot. We say, this is happening. It's happening in about 10 minutes time. If you want to come back, this is happening at midday, or join us at 11:30 and we'll be doing this. We give people a menu in the morning. We go, here's a load of things that we think you're going to love, but we know you're busy. We know you're doing other things. We know you're in the middle of things. And at the moment, we know that people are in the middle of working from home. But there's a lot of people stopping to join Spin to Win at the moment. The nation loves Spin to Win. So, Michael, I think watch out, because Spin to Win.
Oh, no, look, if you want to talk about it as a spin-off, a standalone show, come and talk to me.
On that note, we've got 15 minutes. So I want to get through as many of these questions. And actually, the first question, I know it's been lovely having a chat, isn't it? Is actually about game shows, Michael. We've got this in from CV, and I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. It's Mastra Antonio. He says, do you think that this is a good time to launch a new game show? I guess considering what's already on a slate.
Yes, because from a producer and a developer's point of view, you're always thinking, what is the opportunity? You know, and right now we know there's opportunity. We know that BBC are in the market for more quiz and game, and we know the Channel 4 are aggressively in the market for quiz and game, and they're after those because there's a need for, in BBC's case, to refresh and have some new quiz, and they have an audience who love quiz, but also for Channel 4, you know, Channel 4 led the way on quiz. You know, for many, many years, 15 to 1. I mean, 15 to 1 is one of the finest quizzes for a quizzer. You know, it's a bloody hard quiz. But, you know, it's so is it the right time to launch a new game show, quiz show in daytime? I would say yes, the opportunity is there. So as a developer and producer, yes, this is a good time.
We've got a question here from an anonymous attendee. Michelle, I'll put this to you because they were sort of saying that traditionally, daytime budgets have been low. Given the rise in viewing figures and the pull of new audiences, will we see bigger budgets being given to these programs?
That's a good question.
I'll go and ask the channel. No. No, I don't know. I can't answer that. But I think it's just, you know, we just have to get cleverer and cleverer, right, don't we, with the way we manage our budgets.
And there's another question for you, Ollie, who says, I have a background in newspapers and magazine journalism. This is from Alison Randall, but desperate to break into TV production. Do you have any advice? Are you still hiring at the moment?
Crikey, we're always looking for freelancers. Do you know what? I think we've got a really great kind of team at daytime, a HR team that look after all of our programs. It's Good Morning Britain, Loose Women, The Rain, This Morning. They are the people to go and find on LinkedIn, and they are the people, you know, it's all available on the ITV website, you know, it's a plug. We're always looking for great people. You can never have enough great people around. And what I would say is, I started as a freelancer this morning. A job came up. It's 5 years later, I'm still there, and I started as an assistant producer, and I've just climbed my way through. So what we're great at doing in daytime, and lots of people are like that, we make careers out of ITV daytime, because we promote from within, we train you, and there are some really great opportunities to make full careers. It's not just contracts here, there, and everywhere.
Oh, Martin Frizzell will be very happy with that answer.
Just what I was thinking.
Well done. Michael, Bob Clark wants to know, how much was the commissioning editor involved in changing the editorial of The Chase and the selection of Bradley? And also says, by the way, love the show, and can we have Beat the Chasers more than once a year?
All right, the answer to the last question first. Yes, you can have Beat the Chasers more than once a year. To go back to that one, when we talk about how you make a hit in daytime, it really is a case of having the planets having to align. So I talked earlier about that sort of, that chain of events in the development stage that got us to the format and introducing Bradley to that. Key to that process was having the right commissioning editor. We had a fantastic guy who was the head of ITV Daytime at the time, or he was commissioning editor, Adam McDonald. Brilliant genius of a man, who absolutely gets quiz. Commissioned Deal or No Deal on Channel 4 before he came to ITV. He gets quiz, understands quiz, and so that was a vital part. He was very, very involved in the shaping of the ideas we brought it through. Then the controller of daytime, who at the time was a lady called Alison Sharman, again, a legend in the industry. Alison was the one who basically brought Brad to the table, had a sort of coincidental coffee with him, and he was just asking what was around, and she put literally the A4 sheet, the treatment, in front of him and said, maybe you should have a think about this. So you can't have a hit. Producers don't make hits, we make great shows. Broadcasters make hits. That's my view. We just make great shows, we do the best job we can, but it's the broadcaster who is the connection to the viewer, and it's the broadcaster who makes the hit. So you need to have a fantastic commission editor, and we were very lucky that we did have a great one who understood what we were trying to do and supported us.
Can I ask a question to Michael?
Yeah,
oh, sorry. Michael, you've got a history of like game shows and stuff like that, and I'm a new kid on the block, and I've always wondered this. I've watched TV for a number of years, but can anybody tell me why, or has there been a black person that's ever done a game show, a black presenter doing a game show? I know we're talking about diversity. Has there?
In the UK?
Sean, I know Sean Fletcher does one for ITV.
Yeah, Sean does one. Right. I mean, I've got a game show coming soon that has a black presenter.
Okay.
And then I have a question: male or female, Michael?
For the one that I'm referring to, elusively male.
Okay.
Women do game shows too, I'd like to say, because not many women.
Charlene, let me tell you, the conversation about diversity is an important one, and it's one that has become, more apparent and louder in the last 18 months and 2 years, which is a great thing. But I might not have the right color, but I understand diversity. I'm a Northern Irish Catholic, who grew up in the Troubles and then came to England when we were still the terrorists. I understand about discrimination, and I have an understanding of discriminatory practice. So since I set up Potato, being diverse has been in our DNA from the very start, and you can see that in our shows. But even if you look at The Chase, we started off, our first chaser was Sean, the Dark Destroyer, his choice of name, by the way. He was our first chaser, then the Beast. Then after that, our third chaser, we wanted a woman, so we went out and found the best quizzing woman we could find in the country, Anne Hegarty. And then after that, when we were trying to add the team, going, right, what we need now is someone who can bring a different tone, a different flavor. And we said, let's get someone is there a comedian who's clever? And we stumbled upon Paul Sinha, who's a gay Asian man. And when that man came in, it was exactly what we wanted. But by God, he ticked boxes for us as well.
Perfect.
And so all this just like I make Ninja Warrior UK. you know, and putting Chris Kamara on that show is like a dream come true for me, not because of the color of his skin, but because he's an amazing man and a lovely man, and he's great with Ben Shepherd and Rochelle Humes, you know, who we put in there as the third spoke in that fantastic wheel. Doesn't matter to me what color people are, doesn't matter to me what their background are. First and foremost, if they're the right people. But it's an important conversation that we're having. And Charlene, to pick up on your point, which is why I went into this rant, sorry. We have been trying to find a combination of a female host and the right format for about 2 years. And we are going to keep going until we get it. And I know other producers are doing it as well. And Jay, to pick up your point, we are absolutely, as most producers in this country are now, and as all the broadcasters are, we are absolutely committed to making sure that we reflect our audience, that we reflect the diversity of our audience, so that there will be better representation across the talent on all our programs.
Cool. I look forward to more women doing game shows, Michael, because women can be funny and hold game shows too. But moving on, we've got a question for you, Jay. Have you ever fixed something on the show that a contestant hasn't liked in a changing room style row?
The sad one, the easiest answer is no. We have over 500 years of experience on the repair shop with all of the experts combined. And if one expert is having a little bit of difficulty with it, they can just go to another bench and ask someone, what would you do around this? There is a real community spirit and a family spirit of we will get the job done. So we've never had an item that has done a changing rooms. Never. We've never had.
I can't imagine anyone wanting to argue with you, Jay, like ever, ever in life. We've got a question about COVID, which I will put to you, Ollie, because I know there have been so many changes in order to be able to allow those shows to go to air. This is an anonymous question. How has your day-to-day schedule changed as a result of COVID and restrictions?
I spend 3 days sat in my kitchen, and I do 2 days in. Yeah, I mean, look, from as soon as the lockdown started, I think 85% of us are at home at any one time. And that's gone from being in a bustling office and a studio that could have been bringing donkeys for the nativity to, you know, I mean, all sorts. This morning studio has had all sorts in it. It's all gone at the moment. And yes, we're down the line. I think we've come up with some very clever ways to get down the line and doing chefs from home and things like that. But yeah, the COVID restrictions are a constant challenge, as I'm sure for everybody else on this call, that they are a constant challenge. Cameras went from 5 to 3 straight away. We, you know, at one point we even thought, crikey, what happens if they close the studio? And, you know, do you remember when offices were closing because there had been a case and then you weren't allowed in the office? And we thought, what happens if the studio closes? And, you know, at points we had contingencies for, do we use a different studio? We had cameras in people's homes for in case we had to do it that way. We were determined to stay on air. Now we very much got into the swing of things. But yeah, it's a challenge, you know, no makeup in, presenters do their own makeup, you know, there's all of those kind of things to contend with. And then on top of that, trying to adapt to make all those great items that we used to do in studio well, to still make them just as good and keep the quality up when they are down the line and they are on Skype. So how can we go beyond Skype and do something on a live view camera? Yeah, it's a constant challenge, basically, is what I'm saying.
Well, you know, I've got to say, I don't know who the director is on this morning, but I know that you switched to, rather than having Phil and Holly on the other side of the screen, you now have them cut in the middle and on a split screen.
Yeah.
And I just think that is phenomenally clever and works really well.
We all know that they're apart, that there's something about seeing them on your telly together that everybody wants to see, isn't it? But yeah, it's been difficult.
Michael, we've got a question in from Christopher Bond, who's a composer, and was wondering, oh, actually, do you know what, Michelle, we'll do you. Just wondering if you can talk a little bit about selection of music for the shows and how that works and how you come to a decision about the music you're going to use.
So we let our editors choose their own music. I've got a series producer who oversees all the post-production. He gets involved in that. So we have a lot of composers and music libraries that get in touch with us and he speaks to them. what we've noticed over the years, we've had different commissioning editors, and every commissioner editor has their different idea of what music they want. So that's how we get asked. So if they want a certain vibe, they want a certain vibe. And what we've noticed recently is because we're attracting this younger audience, we're getting our notes saying, well, can we have something a bit more funky, a bit more Ibiza chill out? So apparently that's what the youngsters are listening to.
Yeah, we love Ibiza chill out.
Yeah, so we are open to getting emails from composers and music libraries. We do that, but we take our steer from the channel.
How about the music that you choose for your various game shows, Michael? How do you guys do that process?
We've got a department in ITV Studios, a music department, who are fantastic, and so they're the ones who speak to composers. You know, I get contacted by composers almost on a daily basis, and they send me through their audio reels and clips. And there's so many great composers out there. I have very strong views on music because I used to be a musician, and so, you know, I think I am an expert, even though I might not be. But what we do is we sort of direct all inquiries. We'll put them through to the music team at ITV Studios, and then when we've got a new show, we'll go and we'll give them a brief. They'll suggest composers who they think might be able to, you know, sort of deliver what we're looking for, or someone who's new and exciting we might not have worked with before. But we tend not to take direct pitches from composers and handle them ourselves, just because it's almost so abstract.
Yeah.
You know, composing music, that we have to wait until we know what the show is and have an idea of what it's going to look like and where it's going to go. And then that's when we can issue a brief, and there's no point people just sort of send us music. But then on all our other shows, on the things that aren't in the studio, very similar to the way Michelle's saying, you know, the edit producers and the editors absolutely have free reign within very broad parameters, and those parameters do tend to get tinkered with if you've got a change commission editor who has the desire to put their fingerprints on.
Ollie, we've got an interesting question here from Rosalind Thacker. He said, you mentioned how you welcome things going wrong in This Morning, as it creates a safe environment. Do you ever encourage things to go wrong from a PR and marketing perspective in order to be able to, I guess, get people talking on social and end up on the sidebar of Men Online, I assume?
Ollie, you know,
the plan's for nothing to ever go wrong, but that. No, it is just. Look, so I'll give you a perfect example. You might have seen the famous clip maybe 2 years ago. We had some skunks in. You know, look, they were skunks from Chessington Zoo, and one of them decided to lift its little tail in the air, and Holly runs off to one corner of the studio, and Philip's holding it, going, you know. That was just, let's get some animals in from the zoo, because we've got a good relationship with Chessington Zoo. We do it all the time. We work with the, it's just something fun to do. Nice little open chat. They'd had some babies. Let's bring them in. I didn't know they was going to do that. Of course I didn't, but it happens. But then we're okay, because we're in that environment where actually we're in the gallery. Fortunately, we're laughing along, and the poor presenters are dealing with this. But
you're in a different room.
They can deal with anything on air. So, no, nothing's planned to ever go wrong. I think it's just, look, they've got great personalities, and if they find something funny, they're going to laugh about it. If something goes wrong, we laugh about it. I think that's the best way to deal with it when you're on, it's just adapting with live telly, really.
Right, we've got. I'm going to try and squeeze in a couple more questions before we finish. You guys are sending in such wonderful questions. There are so many of them. I am trying to get through as many as possible. An anonymous one here. Video on demand, so Netflix, Amazon. We haven't even begun to start talking about them yet during this session. So thank you very much, the anonymous messenger, for sending that in. Guys, do you think that they are a threat to daytime TV in any shape or form? What do you think, Michelle?
Yes, they're a threat, obviously. At the moment, I think, as we've still got our older core generation, I mean, my kids don't watch TV like I watch TV. My kids don't understand the concept of a TV schedule. So the whole landscape's going to change, isn't it? And we just have to, as producers, keep up with that and try and ride the wave. But it is going to change things.
Michael, do you think that's the case when it comes to game shows?
I don't know. I mean, the SPODs are, have been looking at quiz and game, and some of them have tried game shows, and they don't naturally lend themselves to binge watching. No. You don't really, I mean, you can't imagine staying up all night and watching, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire episodes back to back. And I know that, Netflix are very, very keen and attracted by, especially with the success of Quiz and Game in the UK and in the US, they've obviously been looking. They have tried some, they've thrown loads of money at them, and some of them have been spectacular, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, Netflix is new to our generation, and as Michelle said, our kids are growing up with it, and it is their preferred medium, or no, on demand is their preferred medium. What will the schedules look like in 10 years' time or 20 years' time? I have no idea. Will people still have things to do during the day and possibly require the need or have the need for a television in the background like the modern day radio? I would hope so. And I would hope that there are still producers who are going to be making shows that will fit into the lifestyles of those viewers. Yeah.
And we have a question for you, Jay. Having now, you call yourself a TV novice and new to it, but it looks as if you've been doing it for years. You're such a natural to this. Is there anything about telly that surprised you when you started doing the show?
That's a good question. Nothing surprised me, to tell you the honest truth. The only thing that has surprised, a couple of things that surprised me, I should say. One is how nice everybody is, because I haven't come across any. I heard rumours that there are people in TV that are not very nice. I haven't met them, or they've just stayed away from me. And
I'm sure we can give you some names afterwards, Jay.
Michael, you need to calm down. Take it easy. But yeah, I haven't met anybody that's not nice. And then also, it's for me, diversity is a big one. Reference, because I've even at the repair shop when I've screamed about we need to have more camera women behind the camera doing stuff, they've done it. When I said I need to see me when I'm filming, it would be nice to have someone who represents me holding the camera, and they've done it. They got an apprentice in, and we've just grown Kenny up. We've got Lucy. It is absolutely nice that you can ask for something and then it's been done. So I haven't met anybody that's not nice, and I've seen the diversity being developed. Especially
the thing is, and I think it's, from a personal perspective, amazing that you have that power. I think, unfortunately, when we go back historically, those who've had the power to make those changes and to ask for things to change and those things happen haven't necessarily been asking. And I think from an on-screen perspective, for you to go into your show and make those observations and ask for things to change is similar to what I've done throughout my career. And I'm really pleased to hear that you've been doing the same.
Well, I've come into it very late. I'm 51 this year, and I started, let's say, when I was about 45, 46. But before all of that, I was a community worker. So I was working in the community, getting people to not necessarily do naughty stuff and do something positive in their community, but it was all about bringing people together. So when I come into TV, that's exactly the same thing I'm going to do. It's about bringing people together. So if I see something that I don't think is right, I'm going to say, well, why is it like that? Why can't you change it? You have the power to employ someone. And luckily for me, the Ricochet, the company that make the repair shop, have been but if you see the diversity of the people behind the camera, and that's why I celebrate them on my social media, because those people those are my family now. Those are the people that make me look good, whether it's the editors, whether it's the camera people, it's everybody. It's just like, wow. So I'm just a community worker. So anybody that dabbles with me in a show, I'm going to make some changes. Sorry, it's going to happen.
I'm a child of a social worker, Jay, so it's all connected. Guys, thank you so much to everyone that's been watching and sent in questions. I apologise to those who weren't able to get their questions answered today, but I do hope in the course of the last sort of hour and 10 minutes, you've kind of got a lot of answers to questions that you may well have had otherwise. To Ollie, to Michelle, to Michael and Jay, I've loved this. It's just felt like nice and relaxed and having a chat with mates. So I that you guys have enjoyed it too in this weird and wonderful,
Great.
you know, restricted world that we live in. It's nice that we can do these masterclasses, and I know that a lot of us are struggling to be able to get people in doing work experience because of COVID restrictions. So the fact that all of you have given your time to be able to try and give something back to people, even during, you know, COVID, the fact that we're all here and doing this, I think for those watching, gets you to understand that, you know, we do still want new talent. New talent is very important to what we do, and new talent is the only way really that telly has a future. So keep being creative, keep being wonderful, and keep asking questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.